Cybersecurity threats are real and ubiquitous. If you don't know the facts, misconceptions can cause permanent damage to your firm. Tom Nohs, CISSP, and Cornerstone.IT's operation manager, Neil Failla, expose common pitfalls that can ruin your firm's finances and reputation.
Thank you, Adriana, and thank you for watching this video. I'm Tom Nohs, CISSP, cybersecurity professional. Today, we're going to discuss the 4 misconceptions about cybersecurity that can take your firm down. The 4 topics on the agenda: there is a chance I won't get hit by ransomware. I don't have to worry about paying ransom until there's an attack. My firm's insurance covers it, and no one needs to know. On that first topic of there's a chance I won't get hit with ransomware. Ransomware has increased from 61% to 86% in the last 6 years. That's an increase of 24%. 2021 had the largest increase year over year of 6%. The important thing to realize is don't think you won't get hit with a ransomware attack. It's not if you get hit, it's when it happens. Neil, how can Cornerstone help firms prepare for ransomware attacks?
This is Neil Failla, the operations manager at Cornerstone. We can do ransomware security assessments or vulnerability assessments that can help identify the necessary configurations and applications that need to be in place to prevent as much as possible a ransomware attack in the firm's environment.
I want to just make a point that the graphs and the numbers that actually I am presenting today are actually coming from the Cyber Edge 2021 Cyber Threat Defense Report, also known as CDR. It is available. We will give you the URL to the document for download. So that's that point. But like I said, the important thing to realize is that you're definitely going to get hit. It's not now, but it's when. And the question here is, how is that going to affect your firm? Also, what I wanted to show from a graphic standpoint is the vicious cycle. One of the things that happened over the last 4 years is that more people are paying the ransom. Which brings us to the next misconception. I don't have to think about if I am going to pay ransom until an attack happens. The spoiler alert is, now is the time to ask the question, to pay or not to pay. Again, this chart here actually is showing the number of victimized organizations that paid the ransom and organizations that were affected by ransomware. But the big news here is the increase in companies that actually paid the ransom and got their data back. They recovered their data. That's actually very, very important. FYI, this is a very short presentation, so we're going to go through some really quick items here, things that you need to consider. Again, I guess what we're trying to express here is that really your firm should be doing a ransomware security assessment. It's really called a ransomware readiness assessment. This is all actually covered in a ransomware readiness assessment, where you actually ask the question, are we going to pay? And maybe it's based on some of the criteria of what's actually happened in your environment. So ransomware is actually now a quadruple threat. They encrypt your data and your systems. They're stealing the data and threatening to expose it. Threatening denial of service attacks, because now they have a foothold in your environment. Going further, they know all your IP addresses. Threatening to harass your customers, partners, employees, and the media about successful ransom attack. So all this is bad news for your firm. Again, readiness assessment. Again, you can be ready for all this stuff. A readiness assessment will prepare you for those type of things. One thing to quickly go over is ransom cost versus recovery costs. According to Sophos, and the report is called The State of Ransomware 2021, the average ransom paid is $170,000. The average cost for recovery is $1.85 million. That's 10 times the cost of a ransom, of paying the ransom. But now you have to weigh the pros and cons of paying it. So the payment downsides are, and here's a big one, is you may not recover your data. Think about what I told you before, that 76% only recover their data. The ransom costs, potential bad publicity, threat, repeat attacks, because once you pay, then the dark side actually knows that you're going to be paying. And then funding the side, and you're funding cybercrime. So there's probably going to be an increase in that as well. Payment upside, you're definitely going to save money. Think about what I mentioned before about the cost of recovery versus the cost of the ransom. It's 10 to 1. Less downtime, likely recover data. Bad publicity is minimized because they're not going to expose your data, and data not likely is going to be leaked. So, but the number one reason not to pay ransom, there actually is no guarantee you're going to get your data back. So, again, Neil, do you have anything that you think maybe you can add on top of that?
Yeah, Tom, we've had clients who have, we've worked on we've helped several clients recover from ransomware attacks. Paying out to ransomware, insurers are catching on. As reported by Computer Weekly, global insurance pricing has increased by like 32% just this year alone. So insurance companies are going to start charging more to protect your data. They're also demanding more evidence of preparedness. And that's, again, where we could come in. We have a security initiative that we do, that we go through your environment after doing that ransomware preparedness scan, and we can put things and implement things in place, things such as 2FA, moving passwords to passphrases, putting a proper SIM tool in place, zero trust VPNs. And we also have a NIST compliance report, which we can run, which will give you a general basic idea of where you are from NIST compliance readiness. So all these things, among many other things that we do as part of our security initiative, can really help your firm prepare and be prepared to prevent, as much as we can, a ransomware attack in your environment. Ransomware attacks are very, very stressful. And again, as Tom said, there's no guarantee that you're going to get out of it. If your data's gone, your data's gone. You probably won't get that. If your ransomware, if your files are locked and inaccessible, you pay the price. You still have to go in and you still have to remediate often enough and recover and clean up files that were left behind. So it's not an easy thing for the firm to go through. Very stressful and very anxiety-ridden.
Excellent point, Neil, and maybe I could add a little bit to that, as you and I have worked on a couple of ransomware hits, and it's actually important to understand that we happen to know that some of the preventative measures that we actually put in place actually worked, and we actually had proof of that. We actually got acknowledgement from the FBI in the list of items that we had implemented based on best practice of actually. That's really all it is. It's just best practices. So yeah, that's all great stuff. And like I said, we know it worked, and it actually, we got acknowledgement from the FBI on one of the firms that we actually had this implemented in. Next topic is insurance. Every firm should have insurance. There is business liability insurance, cybersecurity insurance, and business interruption insurance. Everything covers differently. There are a lot of pitfalls. I actually have just recently worked with a firm, and all she had was the business liability, and that actually does cover the restore. It does not cover the forensics to find out exactly what occurred. What costs more? That really depends on how much detail that they have to go into on the forensic side. Forensics usually cost a lot of money, but you have to know how it occurred so you can prevent it in the future. So you just need to work with firm counsel and your insurance agent and ask the right questions. Those questions are actually asked in the ransomware readiness assessment. The whole trick here is to be ready for it. It's not if, it's when. Sorry for keep going over that. And also be aware that the business liability insurance has caps. So if the cost of the restore is going to cost whatever that's going to take, again, you got to remember you're re-imaging PCs, you're re-imaging servers, you're restoring data, you're making sure the backups work. Sometimes this takes weeks. So that's why the three of them, and the cybersecurity one is the big one. Couple of main points, and then I want to turn it back over to Neil real quick. Use your legal counsel to ensure the verbiage is accurate, because my bills, when I gave it to the insurance company, didn't have the proper verbiage in it. They refused to cover it. Many cybersecurity policies cover ransom monies paid for ransom demands. So this is just some recent research. I'm sure there are some areas where they're not going to pay it. And so here's an important factor that I didn't know, and I just recently did some research. And again, it may differ from state to state. In some countries and state, regulatory fines are uninsurable. So you need to know where you stand with that. It's very possible it is covered, but you need to really understand the regulatory fines that come along with this. Neil, and I remember you mentioning that you guys actually work with an insurance company to get them covered. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about that. Would that help?
It could be one of the services that we help a firm with, is making sure you have the proper cybersecurity insurance. And also at that same with that on the same point is, again, that evidence of preparedness. So cybersecurity insurance is going to require more so that you have certain things in place to prevent these types of malicious attacks. So again, that's where Cornerstone can come in. We can help you prepare for the requirements from the insurance companies in order to get this insurance, because you wouldn't want to get hit with a ransomware attack and find out that if you don't have the appropriate risk management in place, that the insurance company is going to deny your claim. I'm familiar with claims that we've worked with where firms were applying for north of $100,000 in security claims, and the firm would not want to get stuck with that. So in the end of the day, you have to be prepared, and you have to have these security initiatives in place in your environment.
Excellent point, Neil. The next topic is really all about notification. And what I'm talking about is notifying your state attorney general that you got hacked. So in New York State, we have the SHIELD Act that really has been implemented to cover basically anybody that's not under any kind of a regulatory agency, but you're a small company or a law firm that has been hacked and they stole data. So you may have to report that to the New York State Attorney General. And based on your cybersecurity stance, sometimes they may impose a fine. And I'm hearing fines of over $250,000 is where they're starting. So these fines are significant. Again, you need to work with firm counsel and understand where you are. And again, a ransomware readiness assessment is where you're going to discuss that and how that is going to get handled, because you don't want that at the IT side. You want to make sure firm counsel is working with it, but they need the details of what occurred when that happens. Thank you for watching. I'm Tom Nohs, certified cybersecurity professional. I was joined today by Neil of Cornerstone.IT.
Neil Failla here again, the operations manager for Cornerstone.IT. Thank you.
Thank you.